Hello ladies and gentlemen. Today, for our first lesson of this new unit, what we're going to talk about is the slope of a line. Now on your paper, slope of a line, it has a definition, so this is what you're going to write down. Slope of a line means the steepness of a line. How steep or how flat a line becomes. So, slope of a line is the steepness of a line. Alright, now, what slope is what we've been calling rate of change. Alright, well, we're going to change that when we go to graphs. When we talk about graphs, when we talk about how we graph them and that kind of thing, we call it the slope. And that slope, just like the rate of change, is your vertical change divided by your horizontal change. And it'll also be represented by that change in y over change in x. That doesn't change. It's just how we describe it. Now, as we look at this, what we're going to be talking about is how do you find the slope of these lines? How do you find the steepness? Well, a couple things to go over first. First is the directions. When we talk about the directions, let's talk about our vertical change first. So first thing is, anytime we move up in a direction, that is a positive number. Anytime that we move down, that'll be a negative number. When we talk about our horizontal change, anytime we go to the right, that's a positive direction. Anytime we go to the left, that is a negative direction. So, from there, what we're going to do is we're going to look at this example here. We want to find the slope of this line, the steepness of that line. And as we look at it, the idea is that you need to have 2 points to be able to find the slope of any line. Not a big deal. Before, we've been having this represented by a table. Now we're representing it with a graph. To find the slope of a line given 2 points, what we're going to do is we're going to find the vertical change of that line, and then we're going to divide it by the horizontal change of that line. So basically, we're finding the distance from here to here, vertically and horizontally. Now, just like on any other problem that we do, we start off with change in y over change in x. That again represents our slope. Okay? So, as we go through this, to find the vertical change, we want to find out how many units from this point -3, -5, all the way up to 1, 3. So we're going to start from here. We're going to count up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's 8 units up, so that's going to stay as a positive number. So that's vertical change is 8. Now from there, let's look at the horizontal change. We need to get back to that line. So we have to count, all right, how many units from here to here do we move horizontally? Well, we move 1, 2, 3, 4 units to the right. 4 to the right is a positive number, so that'll be a positive 4. So, the slope of this line is 8 over 4. Well, that can be reduced. That can be reduced to 8 divided by 4, which is 2. So, technically, the slope of this line is 2. But this has a meaning. And what the meaning is this change in y over change in x is 2 over 1. You'll notice we're going to write these as fractions quite often. What that means is this line goes up 2 units to the right 1 unit. So, I can show this by looking at this graph. If we start here at that point, -3, -5, we go up 2 units to the right 1, we're back to the line. Up 2 to the right 1, back to the line. Up 2 to the right 1, up 2 to the right 1, up 2 to the right 1, so on and so forth. All the way up. You'll notice every time you go up 2 units to the right 1, you're back to the line that we started with. That shows us the steepness of that line. 2 units up, 1 to the right. Now, you can also check it with the table. So if we look at this table, just like we did before, changing your value of y, get from -5 to 3 is 8 units. Changing your value of x to get from -3 to 1 is 4 units. Well, that's a change in y over change in x of 8 over 4, which is 2. Just like we had. Right? It's just 2 different ways of doing this. But now, we're moving away from these tables to these graphs a little bit. So you need to be able to find the slope of a line, the steepness of the line, by looking at the table. I'm sorry, by the graph, sorry. So, from there, let's go on to the next one. The next one we have here. We have 2 points on this line. We're going to use these 2 points to find the slope. Well, we got 3, -3, and then 10, 2. So, we're asked to find the slope of this line. So again, change in y over change in x. Let's see, we'll write that down a lot. You'll see it's on your paper as you have now. So, as we go through this, we'll start, whenever we do these, we start at the point farthest to the left. This is going to make things a lot easier when you have to find these. And we will always find the vertical change first. So start at this point 3, negative 3. We want to figure out how many units up, in this case, we have to go to get even with that other point. Right? So, count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, that's 5 units up, so that's a positive 5. So your vertical change is 5. Now we have to find how many units to the right, in this case, horizontally, we have to go to get back to that line. So that's your horizontal change. And when we count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's a horizontal change of 7. So when you look at this, you got a slope of this line is 5 over 7. Yes, I understand that it is a fraction, and yes, it'll stay a fraction. Fractions are okay, especially when you deal with the slope of a line. But what this means is 5 units up, 7 to the right. You could check it using a table. But when you look at that, get from negative 3 to 2, well, that's 5 units up. Get from 3 to 7, that's 7. So the change in y for this one over the change in x is also 5 over 7. Right? So it does work. So from there, let's move on to a couple more examples. So what we have here, 2 points on a line. We need to be able to find the slope given those 2 points. So anytime we write this, we will write down change in y divided by change in x. Every single time. I don't care what's written on that paper, whether it's an m, a slope, whatever. You need to write down change in y over change in x. When we start with this, we're going to start the point farthest to the left. That's this point right here, this negative 7, 4. And to start with, we are going to count down in this case to find our vertical change. How many units down we have to go to get even with this other point? So we have to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We went down this time. So if we go down, we need to have a negative number. So that's a negative 6. Now we need our horizontal change, or change in our value of x. How many units to the right we have to go to get back to that point? So we count. From that point we start at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That is 6 units to the right. So that is going to be a positive 6. Now we need to reduce this. Negative 6 divided by 6 is negative 1. The slope of this line is considered to be negative 1. And what that means is in terms of change in y over change in x, we put it as a fraction. So we'll put it over 1 because it is a whole number. Okay? Negative 1 over 1 means 1 unit down, 1 unit to the right. As we go on here, take a look. Starting at this point, 1 unit down, 1 unit to the right, back to the line. 1 unit down, 1 unit to the right, so on and so forth. You do that all the way down, you'll see you'll still come back to that line. Let's take a look at the next one. Our next one, let's find the slope of this line. Again, no different. Change in y over change in x. You'll write that down every single time. Start at the point farthest to the left. So the point farthest to the left in this case is a negative 1, negative 3. We need to first count our vertical change. How many units up we go? Well, count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's 9 units up, so that's a positive number. The next thing we need is our horizontal change, the number of units to the right we're going to go to get back to that line. Well, we count over from that point, 1, 2, 3. That's 3 units over. So the slope of this line is 9 divided by 3, which is 3. And again, as we talked about before, change in y over change in x. Write that as a fraction. That's 3 over 1. That means 3 units up, 1 to the right. So if we count from here, up 3 to the right one, up 3 to the right one, up 3 to the right one, you're always getting back to that line. That is the slope of that line. Now, real quick, something to write down, especially next to these or somewhere on your notes. Whenever we look at the slope of a line, one of the hardest things for people to remember is it negative or is it positive? Well, here you go. All positive slopes increase as you look at it from left to right. You might want to write that down. All positive slopes increase as you look at it from left to right. Negative slopes decrease as you look at them from left to right. Negative slopes decrease as you look at them from left to right. I would write that down somewhere. That is important to remember. All right, let's move on. So our next one. All right, so these two special cases.
Genesis Harlow, if you're in the building, can you please report to the front office? Genesis Harlow, thank you.
All right, we have two special cases here. First one is the vertical line. Now, I'm going to go through it, then I'm going to kind of give you a little example of why it is what it is. But again, changing y over changing x. We're going to do this one kind of quick. You're changing y. Start here, we're going to count up. 1, 2, 3. So that's 3 units up. Think about your change in x. Do we have to go to the left or the right at all? We don't, do we? So that's a change in x of 0. All right, so you can get out a calculator, you can give this a try, but if you try to divide 3 by 0, it doesn't work. It does not work. All right? You cannot divide by 0. It is impossible. All right? All right? So, anytime you have a vertical line, the slope, which is written as m, all right, is known as undefined. This is important to remember. The slope of any vertical line is undefined. Here's the reason why. There is no horizontal change. And lastly, if you do the vertical line test, is this even a function? No. If it's not a function, it can't have a slope. All right? So, we can't write this in our linear form. We'll talk about what that means a little later. But hey, etch it into your brain. Vertical lines, the slope is undefined. Now, let's move on to the next one. The next one, as you notice, is a horizontal line. This is a function, so this will have a slope. I want to make sure that's clear. Change in y over change in x. Now, the easy one to do is a change in y. Well, neither goes up nor down, so the change in y is 0. It does have a change in x. 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? 5, so 0 over 5. Now, in your lovely calculators or whatever, you can divide 0 by 5. What do you get? 0. You certainly do. The slope of a horizontal line is 0. The reason for this, it is the flattest line you can have. The flattest line you can have. So that is the starting point. 0. Right? Horizontal lines have a slope of 0. You have to memorize that. So, hopefully you have those two. We're going to move on. Alright, so we have a few examples here. Now, if you notice on these examples, you are not given any points. You have to find your own points, which is okay. It does not matter as long as it's on the grid. I have one here at 0, 5. I have another one here at 3, 1. So, 0, 5, 3, 1. Use those. There's nothing wrong with those. But anytime you do this, again, change in y over change in x. Now I want you to think about this for a second. Is this going to be a positive or negative slope? Is it increasing or decreasing as you look at it from left to right? So think about that as we're going through it. Start at the point farthest to the left. We're going to get our vertical change first. So we go down 1, 2, 3, 4 units. That's a negative 4. Then from there we get our horizontal change. How many units to the right do we go? 1, 2, 3. That's a positive number. Now, the slope of this line is negative 4 over 3. You cannot reduce negative 4 over 3, so you leave it as negative 4 over 3. And what this means is 4 units down, 3 to the right. 4 units down, 3 units to the right. It is a negative slope. It decreases as you look at it from left to right. And it is okay to have a fraction. Alright, the next one. Again, no points. Now, the easiest point to find, the origin. Works really well. Then you can use a point here. There's another point over here. There's one that's negative 3, 1, or one at 3, negative 1. Those points work just fine. But again, the same idea. Change in y over change in x. In this case, starting at the origin, that's going to be my point farthest to the left I'm going to use. I'm going to go down 1 unit for my vertical change. I went down 1 unit, so that's a negative number. To get back to the line, I'm going to use a horizontal change of 3. 1, 2, 3. I ended up with a slope that is negative 1/3. Alright, this does not change. This is still a fraction. Leave it as is. Slope of this one is negative 1/3. This means from here, down 1 to the right 3, down 1 to the right 3, down 1 to the right 3. Every single time. Alright? That is the slope of that line. It is a negative slope because it decreases as you look at it from left to right. Alright, so here, these two should be really easy. There is no work to do on these two problems. Vertical line. You see a vertical line. You're going to write the slope as undefined. Done. Over. The next one, a horizontal line. You see a horizontal line, there's no work to do. You write 0. Done. No work. Any vertical or any horizontal line, slope is 0. Done. Move on. Remember those two. Alright, a couple more. Starting here. Find a couple points. I've got one here at 0, negative 1. And even another one here, I'm just going to put the one at 4, 3. For the heck of it. 4, 3. Find the slope of this line. Changing y over changing x. So again, starting at this point, 0, negative 1, I go up 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 4 units up. Now, I find my change in y, or x, over 1, 2, 3, 4 also. So, the slope of this line, 4 divided by 4, that can be reduced. If I can reduce it, I will. 2, 1. The slope of this line is 1, and it means up 1 to the right one, up 1 to the right one, up 1 to the right one, every time. This is a positive slope. It increases as you look at it from left to right. Next, over here. Let's see, let's pick a point. Here's one. And I'll pick one at here too. There we go, there's 2 points. I got one at negative 4, 7, another point at 4, 5. So, as we look at it, changing y over changing x. First thing I'm going to do, vertical change. Start at the point farthest to the left. I have to go down 2 units, so that's a negative number. Then I have to count over to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I end up with a positive 8 for my horizontal change because I went to the right. As you look at this, negative 2 over 8. That reduces to negative 1/4. Reduce the fraction whenever you can. So this means down 1 to the right 4. Down 1 to the right 4. Alright. So, hopefully, if you have any more questions about those, make sure you ask. Alright, so, next part. At this time, you are going to start graphing the lines using the slope of a line. So, how this works. To start with, you have a starting point. In this case, we give negative 3, 5. So, anytime you have a graph and asks you to go to a starting point, well, graph that point. So, negative 3 and 5. There we go. Now, to graph a slope, anytime that you have it, you are going to write down again, change in y over change in x. Change in y over change in x. Now, negative 2, well, it's not a fraction, like this is written. So you have to make it a fraction. You just make it a fraction by putting it over 1. So, what this means as we look at it, it means negative 2 for your horizontal or vertical change, so that means down 2 units. Your horizontal change is 1, so that means to the right 1. So starting from this point, negative 3, 5, I'm going to go down 2 units. To the right 1, I'm going to put a dot. I'm going to go down 2 units. To the right 1, put another dot. Down 2 to the right 1. Down 2 to the right 1. If you notice, I'm going to put 3 or 4 or 5 dots. And then, at that point, you should notice a straight line forming. And at that point, draw a line through them. This represents the point, a slope of negative 2, starting at the point negative 3, 5. Let's try that again. So we have another one. Starting at the point 0, negative 4, with a slope of 3 over 4. Well, let's take a look. The first thing is, changing y over changing x for the slope of this line. 3 over 4 is already a fraction. That makes it easier. You already know what the vertical change is. It's 3. Horizontal change, x, is 4. So we need to start at the point 0, negative 4. There's the point 0, negative 4. Is this going to be a positive or negative slope? Think about it. Positive number, so that means the positive slope needs to increase. So, positive 3 for your vertical change, that means go up 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay? And then to the right 4 for your change in x. Put it out. Up 3, to the right 4. Okay? There you go. So, draw a line through that. You now have slope of 3 over 4 starting at 0, negative 4. Next one. Starting point 5, negative 6. Rate of change, your slope is 0. Well, plot that point 5, negative 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Down 6. Be right about here. Okay. Now, here's the nice thing. Rate of change is 0. We've already discussed this. A slope of 0 is what kind of a line? We went through those in those special cases. It's a horizontal line. So all you have to do is from here, after you've plotted that point, just draw a horizontal line through it. You're done. That's it. No more. Horizontal line. Through the points 5, negative 6. You've done a good job. That's what we want to look at. Alright. Next one. Starting point 3, 4. With a slope of, that's undefined. Oh, here we go. Plot the point 3, 4. There's the point 3, 4. Now, from this, as we look at it, we have the point 3, 4. Undefined slope. Well, from our special cases, undefined slope means vertical line. So from that point, draw a vertical line through the point 3, 4. And then you've got your vertical line. All vertical lines have an undefined slope. That's all we had to look at. Alright, so we went through all those. Hopefully you looked at to see how to actually find the slope of a line given 2 points. We'll also have to go through and we'll actually graph a few lines also. But I'll make sure that's clear. You'll have a few of those to do in class on Wednesday or Thursday, depending on which day you come in. Look it over again if you need to. Come into school with some questions and I'll answer everything you need. Alright guys, have a good day.